Hello, everybody. Today I will be covering the 2017 Korean film called Man of Will. This movie was directed by director Lee Won-tae, and Man of Will was his debut film as a director. And previously, he worked as a producer on programs for MBC TV, which is a popular Korean television network. And in terms of other movies, he also directed The Director, The Cop, The Devil. And this movie was popular and favorably viewed in that it was invited to the Cannes Film Festival in 2019. And a few facts on Man of Will. This movie was released on October 19th of 2017, and it was fairly successful in that it earned $2.7 million at the box office. And it portrays roughly 2 years of the life of the Korean independence activist Kim Gu, and he's initially named Kim Chang-soo, and Kim Chang-soo is who he would be referred to as during this movie. And going into the main cast, it features Cho Jin-woong as Kim Chang-soo, Song Seong-hyun as Kang Hyung-sik, who is the present director, Jung Jin-young as Go Jin-sa, as he is a fellow prisoner on death row, and he is in prison for leading a Donghak peasantry movement. And then Jung Myeon-sik as Ma Sang-gu, who is also a fellow prisoner allied with Kim Chang-soo. Before going into the movie, I'll go over some a brief historical context for this movie. This movie mainly follows the assassination of Empress Myeongsang. And who Empress Myeongsang was, she was an empress who wanted to reduce Japanese power within Korea, and she would do this by advocating for a pro-Russia policy, and this way she could seek Russia's protection for South Korea from Japan. However, the Japanese did not like her policies of being pro-Russia, so they commissioned an assassination by Mura Goro, who was the then Japanese minister to Korea, in an attempt to avoid losing Korea to other powers. And this assassination attempt was done in collaboration with Empress Myeongsang's father-in-law, Tai Won-kon. And the beginning of this movie starts with Kim Chang-soo actually chasing a man for who he believes to be the assassin for Empress Myeongsang. And he fights with this person, and he eventually does end up killing this person. And after killing this Japanese person, he then does leave a note, which basically confesses that he was the one who killed the person. And he did this because he believes this to be a national service and not just a crime. However, Kim Chang-soo is thrown into prison without a trial, but he refuses to eat or drink until his trial, so this forces authorities to take him to trial urgently. And during the trial, the judge is actually sympathetic to his motive in a way, but the judge refuses to be lenient on Kim because he did kill a foreign national in cold blood. And because of this, the judge gives him the death penalty, and Kim is sent to Incheon prison where he waits for his execution. And at the prison, at first, Kim Chang-soo refuses to interact and work together with the other prisoners as he just believes them to be criminals. However, he eventually becomes friends with Go Jin-sa, who is another prisoner on death row, and who was responsible for leading a Donghak peasantry rebellion. And Go Jin-sa actually informs Kim Chang-soo that many of the prisoners are uneducated and impoverished, and that many are actually convicted on false charges that they are too uneducated to protect themselves from. So Kim begins to teach the prisoners and even the prison staff on how to read and write. And because Kim teaches the prisoners how to write, he's able to help the prisoners clear their false charges. And he also, because he taught the prison staff as well, the prison staff actually petitioned for better resources from the government. And because of him teaching the prisoners and the prison staff, Kim's reputation is dramatically improved at the prison. And the prison conditions do improve a little bit. However, Kim and the other prisoners are still working on a construction project that involves constructing railroads for Korea. So the conditions are never going to be great, and many people are injured because of this. And also, the prison director, who is also a Japanese sympathizer, goes by Kang Hyung-sik. This prison director is very brutal, and he also finds out that Kim has been educating the prisoners and prison staff. And because of this, the prison director actually personally beats the prisoners and the prison staff. However, when he attempts to beat Kim, Kim's allies attempt to stop the prison director from beating him. Ma Sang-gu, another fellow in the prison specifically, tries to stop the prison director, and he does, but Ma Sang-gu is actually injured to take the beating for Kim instead. However, the Japanese consular agents push the Korean government to execute Kim. The prison staff don't want to execute Kim as he did help teach many of them how to read and write, but they are forced to comply with the order as they are just staff members. But right before Kim Chang-soo is about to be executed, the Emperor Gojong of Joseon sends the judge to send an order to stop Kim's execution. The reason for why the emperor did this is because the prisoners and the prison staff who had learned from Kim sent a petition to the emperor begging to save Kim's life. And the emperor is inspired by this and even sends a personal letter to Kim, personally thanking him for attempting to avenge the queen's death. And he does this despite knowing that this action would strain relations between Korea and Japan. And one day, Kim and the other prisoners are actually able to eventually escape from the prison. And this is because the prison staff, many of them learn how to read and write from Kim. So when the Kims tries to escape with his fellow prisoners, they actually turn a blind eye to him and they let them go. And when the prison director finds out that the prisoners escape, he beats the prison staff for letting them escape. But soon after, we actually see a scene where the prison director is arrested for his corruption as he was embezzling funds from the prison construction projects. And at the end of the movie, Kim appears to walk differently away from the prison. And during his walk, he is in different clothes and he seems more confident. And this is meant to symbolize the evolution from the ordinary Kim Chang-soo to being the then Korean activist Kim Gu. And then after this, I'll talk a little bit about some of Kim Gu's accomplishments later as an independence fighter. One major feat was that he was a founding member and president of the Provisional Korean Government in exile in Shanghai, China. And he also helped founded the Korean Patriotic Corps. And this organization was the one that was responsible for bombing in Hoko Park that killed high-ranking Japanese officials. And he also traveled to North Korea to talk with Kim Il-sung to try to reunite Korea and to make peace. However, he was assassinated in 1949. And for some big lessons and themes for the movies, some of the things I learned is how literacy can be a weapon against oppression, as they allow individuals to empower themselves and express their struggles and maybe injustices. And then we also see how ordinary people can become heroes. And also that movements can be led by individuals, but the power of movements actually comes from the collective power of people within